Hi, in this video from Kota, Rajasthan, we'll be discussing the changing trends that are seen today in the ophthalmic medical practice in our rapidly changing society. This photograph on the left, as we all know, is that of Hippocrates, who's the father of modern medicine, while that on the right is sadly the image that we doctors today have in the public mind. So we all know that the society around us is changing very fast. We are today an increasingly assertive democratic public, and earlier people used to have blind faith and accepted their destiny or fate, and they also accepted whatever the doctor told them. But today we have a very critical and demanding society which has very high expectations. And what was once considered to be a luxury by the earlier generation is now becoming more and more a necessity which everybody wants to be provided. So all professions in this scenario are becoming very demanding and competitive, but the customer care oriented jobs like our medical or ophthalmic profession are witnessing a very growing and aggressive consumerism with every passing day. And in our profession, doctors who were earlier considered to be God and their opinion was never challenged have now become service providers, and the medical profession, just like the hotel industry, has also become a service industry. And most of all, what was earlier a sacred relationship between the doctor and the patient has now developed into a complex interrelationship with so many multiple players in this field, including corporate houses, insurance companies, TPAs, advertisement people, pharma giants, etc. And in the face of all these multiple players, lone doctors sometimes feel very threatened. But if we make best use of whatever is available to us, we can achieve success. And as Charles Darwin said, it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. So we as doctors, as ophthalmologists, as those belonging to the medical profession, need to respond to the changing society before we are actually forced to do so that we can be more successful in our profession. And we must not forget that it is not just the society around us that has changed. We as a part of the society have also changed. We have different expectations compared to a generation ago. The lifestyle of doctors is also changing in India, just like everybody around us. But somehow in the medical profession we have lagged in entrepreneurship as compared to the other professions. So in this changing scenario, for a doctor, it is not just enough to be a good, competent, skillful doctor with good medical skills, but we also need to keep up with the rapidly changing technology and keep ourselves updated. We also need to develop a good and appropriate behavior as the patients and the society expect from us. We need to have excellent convincing power and communication skills. We also need to develop somehow a patience to deal with a variety of different kind of patients, and sadly also need an ability to deal with untoward situations which occur now with increasing frequency. And because of the multiple roles that we need to play, we need to be a good team leader. We need to develop the ability to negotiate with other players in the market like equipment manufacturers, etc. And we really need to do something to build a better image of ourselves, because sadly the image of doctors in the media has taken a severe beating. And so we need to be innovative, not just about the clinical aspect of medicine, but also in the business as well as the financial management related issues. So what are the major issues that we need to face? The first and foremost is the doctor-patient relationship that is changing extremely rapidly today. Earlier, doctors were considered king. The patients would fall at his or her feet. They would wait for them. They would take any opinion that the doctor gave them and did not complain. There was hardly any need to provide answers to questions like, when is my doctor arriving? How long do I need to wait? Is there a better option for treatment? What are the side effects of treatment that you're prescribing? What are the results, success rates, etc.? These discussions hardly ever took place. But today, anybody with a computer and an internet connection is fairly updated about his or her disease, and therefore it has become increasingly important to enter into such discussions. And also with the increasing cost of healthcare, we also need to justify our treatment costs. Now this was a US survey where patients were asked as to what they felt were the most important things for them in a medical facility, and most of them rated getting immediate attention at reception, getting care first before other paperwork, and to have knowledgeable personnel and staff who could communicate to them about their disease in clear, simple terms as the most important factors. The state-of-the-art equipment, which is what we doctors put a lot of emphasis on, was the least in their list of priorities, because it is only when the patient is actually satisfied at all the first 3 or 4 levels that he or she will take the decision to actually lie under your phaco or your LASIK or your femtocataract machine. So what are the repercussions for doctors? We need to create an unprecedented value for our customers now. We also need to develop key competencies so that we can get an edge in our practice, and the ambience of our healthcare facility is becoming very important, so our staff and the ancillary facilities that we provide are something that we need to put a lot of care about. Also, because we are an increasingly volatile and easily provoked society, untoward problems do arise and we need to be able to tackle them. Now, this could be the hand of a physician or that of a doctor depending on your perception and the situation. But the big challenge for us is not to allow things to go so far and to remain calm when we are provoked by any situation, so that things can blow over and we can have a more meaningful conversation with the patient later on. Medico-legal issues are a very real emerging threat in our country, but sadly in India the legal process happens when already the incidents like stoning, violence, adverse media publicity have taken place, and therefore the damage to the doctor's reputation has already been done. So we need to put some emphasis about the medical indemnity policies that we need to put in place. And as the roles of doctors are increasing, the quality of supporting staff that we have is becoming very important, and this staff needs to settle insurance papers and so many other paperwork that needs to be done in hospitals and practices today. They can also assist the patients at various stages of their treatment as well as their counseling and taking decisions. Doctors have traditionally been trained to take the responsibility on themselves, but in the changing scenario we have to learn to delegate as much work as we can, and therefore it is important to invest in good quality staff. In this changing society, we also need to deal with diverse expectations. On the one hand, we have these 5-star posh hospitals and people demand such facilities, but then we must not forget that the majority of our patients come from the rural background, and we also need to be able to handle them and manage them. The medical costs are an increasing problem, but for the patients the hidden costs are more important, and therefore the challenge for us is to maintain as much transparency as we can in our pricing structure and to provide clear and wider choices to the patients. Thankfully in ophthalmology, with such a wide array of IOLs available, we can afford to do that, at least for cataract surgery, which is our bread and butter, and sometimes play Robin Hood. Now, some changes are taking place closer home. Economic growth is really happening in the smaller cities and towns in India, and therefore it is becoming increasingly sustainable to do a good ophthalmic practice in these small cities. And then there are some Indian peculiarities we have to deal with. The patients do bargaining and we have to learn to deal with it. And therefore in India, even though modern treatment has come in very rapidly and is easily and rapidly accepted, the traditional treatment patterns and value for money will always be extremely important. So to conclude, we need to provide renewed emphasis to the enduring qualities of the medical and ophthalmic profession, that is cure, care and communication skills. We need to have competence and compassion, but we also need to discard outdated attitudes and bring in new aspects of healthcare that recognize the extended responsibilities of doctors today. Thank you.